guys, what's up and welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to talk about another case where a teacher takes advantage of her student. It seems like these cases have either been running rampant with women or we're just more aware of it. Either way, disturbing. Before we get into that, I wanted to thank today's sponsor, which is Native. Native's classic deodorant is vegan and cruelty-free, free of aluminum, parabens, and sulfates, using ingredients you can understand like coconut oil and shea butter. It's important to take care of yourself with the best ingredients. That's why I've been using Native, a personal care brand that creates hygiene products that are better for my body. They also have products for the whole family, such as toothpaste, body wash, and soap. And on top of that, they're delivered to your door with free shipping. I specifically like the lavender rose. I've gotten this one consistently because I like the scent because it smells good without being too potent, and as well as the texture. I like that when you put this one on, it doesn't feel like a thick texture on your skin, which has been an issue with other deodorants I've had in the past. Native's build your own deodorant pack is usually $30, but you'll save an extra 20% when you click the link in my description and use the code R2G20. Currently available in the US, UK, Canada, Australia, Britain, France, and Germany. Thank you again to Native for sponsoring this video. Teacher who had sex with teen because he looked and acted like her husband is sentenced to 2 years. I pray you are never allowed to work with students, Laura Busey's victim said in a statement read aloud in court. No kid should ever have to go through this. A former Ohio teacher who had sex with a student in a classroom pantry because he looked and acted like her husband has been sentenced to 2 years behind bars. Laura Busey, 34, was given the sentence Wednesday after emotional statements from the victim and his parents who detail the long-term damage her sexual abuse has caused the family. You have seriously injured this boy, his unidentified victim's father said, according to the Columbus Dispatch. We fear he will never be the same. I hope the court sends you to prison. Busey, a home economics teacher, pleaded guilty in June to sexual battery, a third-degree felony, after admitting to a sexual relationship with a 17-year-old at Twinsburg High School in 2018. Now, the reason I specifically chose this case is because I like to highlight women predators, as you guys probably know, because people tend to think of women as harmless, but any human can be harmful, so let's throw that bullshit away. But aside from that, this case is a little bit different because in a lot of the cases that we've seen of teachers taking advantage of their students, the students have been under the age of consent. In Ohio, the age of consent is 16, and it says, Ohio's statutory rape law is violated when a person has consensual sexual intercourse with an individual under age 16 whom they are not married to. And then there's a close in age exemption, which does not apply here, but the student in question was 17 and the teacher was double his age. My whole thing is just because someone is above the age of consent, it doesn't mean it's automatically okay, specifically because there is a power dynamic here. Let's not pretend like this 34-year-old teacher couldn't ruin this student. She could decide to get him kicked out. She could say that he was inappropriate towards her. She could falsify his grades. Like, there are so many things that she could do to ruin his life. So there is a power imbalance. Aside from the obvious fact that teachers should not be involved with their students, period. It's not professional, in my opinion. It's pretty much always inappropriate. I'm gonna leave that there. Busey allegedly told police that she and the student had a very strong connection and that he often came into her classroom to help her clean, according to an arrest report obtained by Oxygen. The boy looked and acted like her husband, investigators said Busey told them. On one occasion, Busey and her victim had sex together in a classroom pantry. She also admitted to buying the teen supplies for vaping and purchasing $10 worth of marijuana for him. So the other aspect of this that I find strange, in the sense of it almost seems like a kind of bribery to shut up about this, is that she bought him supplies for vaping and getting marijuana for him. Now, maybe she did this just because she wanted to, but at the same time, if you plead guilty and you know you did something wrong, it's hard for me to look back and think, oh yeah, she just gave him marijuana and vaping shit out of the kindness of her heart. To me, it seems like a way to coax an individual to maybe not let everyone know about what's going on. Also, it's very alarming to me that she keeps mentioning that he looked and acted like her husband, as if that changes anything. I mean, I understand that she's probably trying to explain why she gravitated towards a student, but at the same time, nobody cares. Like, the fact that he looks and acts like your husband doesn't give you an out. It doesn't change anything. It's still equally in my opinion, depraved. Busey told investigators that she and the boy only had sexual intercourse once, but that the pair later sent sexually explicit photos and videos to each other, the report said. The teen, who did not appear in court, provided a written statement that was read aloud. He described how he felt like Busey had all the power over me during the illicit relationship. He believed that she could have gotten him in trouble at school or altered his grades, he said, according to the local station WOIO. It truly got out of hand. I began drinking alone in my room on weekdays, he said. I started to isolate myself from others and stop communication with my family so I could be alone. The teen said Busey told him he had to keep this sex a secret so that she did not lose her job. And there you have exactly why I don't think this relationship was in any fashion appropriate. Age of consent aside, the power dynamic automatically makes this inappropriate. Aside from that, just openly complicated. Because if someone can essentially determine whether you pass, whether you graduate, how in any way could it be seen as an okay thing to do? Aside from the fact that the teacher clearly knew that this was not appropriate, because she told him to keep it a secret. But the power dynamic, like the imbalance of power, is obvious when he says that he started drinking, he felt like she had all the power, he isolated himself from his family. It sounds like this teen wasn't really in on it at all, which is kind of what it seems like the teacher is trying to make the reporters believe, to say, oh, he came in to clean and therefore he was obviously down to do sexual shit, which I don't think ever was the case, because automatically it's your teacher. What happens if you turn them down? It's a mess. I do think this student was caught between a rock and a hard place because, like he said himself, she could essentially ruin his academic life if she wanted to. The abuse had damaging effects, he said. I pray you are never allowed to work with students, the teen said, according to the local paper. No kid should ever have to go through this. The teen's mother also spoke to the effects of the relationship in court, saying that the abuse had hindered her son's ability to have a normal dating life. He's supposed to feel safe and protected at school, and you took that away from him, she said, according to the local paper. Busey's attorneys had asked the judge to consider probation, citing her lack of a previous criminal record and mental health issues. She has a great deal of remorse, attorney Larry Whitney said. She wants to get to the bottom of why this occurred. She wants to get this behind her. Busey also spoke at the sentencing hearing, apologizing to the teen, his family, and her own family, who were all impacted by her decisions. They all deserved better, and I'm sorry I allowed this to occur, she said, according to the paper. I do not believe this incident is a true reflection of who I am, and will never let it happen again. Summit County Common Pleas Judge Susan Baker Ross sentenced Busey to 2 years behind bars, but said she would be willing to consider an early release after 6 months. Busey, who will now have to register as a sex offender as part of her sentence, has surrendered her teaching certificate. 2 years. So the thing that I'm conflicted about is 2 years is already not very much, let alone, and now the judge is saying, oh, I'll consider letting her out after 6 months. Fine, she gave up her teaching certificate, but nonetheless, I just don't really feel like this would be treated the same way had it been a male teacher with a young teen student. Maybe that's just my conspiracy, but I don't know. It just leaves a bad taste in my mouth that she could just do 6 months, whereas she's completely fucked up this young man's perception on teachers and dating life. Because imagine you have a teacher who essentially takes advantage of you and makes you keep this massive secret and causes you to start drinking, underage drinking, who causes you to isolate yourself to the point where you're probably not going to feel that comfortable in school with your teachers anymore because you had a teacher that fucked you up like that. And they only get 6 months. I mean, they get 2 years, but it'll probably end up being less. I don't know. I don't think she should go to prison for 20 years, but I definitely feel like there should be something more, especially some kind of mental rehabilitation or some mental evaluation to make sure that she actually realizes that what she did was wrong, to make sure that this doesn't happen again. Because even if she gives up her teaching certification, that doesn't mean she's away from all teenagers automatically. I don't know. I don't really like how cases are treated when women are the predators, and granted, this is different because this young man was over the age of consent, whatever, but the power imbalance is still there. So I don't know how long I would give this person, but I definitely don't think 6 months is appropriate because realistically, I just don't think she's gonna do 2 years. I really don't. Let me know what you think the consequences are. I honestly feel like being on the sex offender registry is a bigger consequence than doing potentially 6 months or 2 years. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you to my patrons as always, and I'll catch you guys next time.